And I don't want to give people the wrong impression, but this is 1993, and we can't not continue to candy coat things like we've been doing.
I'm going to show you.
Martin was a great man. Malcolm was a great man. But you must understand, if you understand history and prophecy, and you have to look at all of that together along with spirituality, that Martin and Malcolm was an example for us what not to do, and for us what to do. You see, because when you look at a person like Martin, this was a man that stood up against adversity. He looked death in the eye. You see, so you can't disrespect a man like some brothers doing. Martin was a punk. I wouldn't have been with him. Martin was not a punk. Martin just didn't know. You see, just like we don't know. You see, Martin is no more or no less than us. Martin did not know his history. He did not know the history of the European. He did not know that you cannot live in harmony on an equal level without it being a master-slave relationship. He did not understand this, because if he did understand it, he would not have used the tactics. See, so when you look at a person like Martin, and even when you look at Malcolm, who disappointed a lot of black people, because Malcolm was the epitome of black manhood. So for him to do ultimately what he did was a shot in the side for black people. But there needed to be a Malcolm, because now you look at him as an example. This is why you study history. But the only problem with black people is we don't study history. We don't even study contemporary history. We're not even talking about ancient history. We're not, as a race of people and as intellectuals in this college and university, we're not familiar with history that happened in the 60s. Right now, you got students here that never heard of Malcolm X till the movie came out. You got students here that know nothing about the Black Panther Party. SNCC. You got black people here that don't even know anything about the civil rights movement.
It's funny you said that, because back in, I think in the early 80s, one guy said he thought Malcolm X was the X was a Roman numeral.
That's right.
He said, who was Malcolm 10 and where the other 9?
That's right. I was in, and that's ironic because I experienced that same situation in an English class here, Clark. I think it was DeVries class. And we were sitting in there, and somebody brought up Malcolm X, and they thought it was Malcolm the 10th. Some Shakespearean character. You see? So this is just to show you the lineage of the black sickness that exists in the community. So when you see a brother in his actions, you think he's thinking of himself when he's really not. And one thing that I always like to bring a point on, and right now I'm doing a manuscript to try to put it into a book form, is something I call the Black Billboard. And this is black people that you see. Now this might seem very trivial to most black people, but I like to use the most insignificant to show you how significant it is. They show you how sick we are in the mind. Yeah.
But you said didn't you say a brother came out to the school with a can in his hand?
Right.
Doing a Parents' Day?
Number time. And what's so ironic is you look at a Parents' Day or a PTA meeting and you see parents sitting up in the auditorium with caps on. A grown, rusty, 50-year-old man with a cap on in the building. Slouched all down in the seat. Now what kind of example is that as a black man? You see? So you look at the sickness on one hand, one reason why the black woman is in the condition she's in now is because you got a bunch of punk black men in the society.
That's right.
Who don't want to stand up and take a stand on nothing.
That's right.
All we're concerned about is passing the test and getting a job. So we can be fired in a couple of years. Now where are you? I've had a few friends recently just got laid off with more than 1 degree. And they are now just distraught. They don't know where to turn to. Because they felt as though once they got a degree and moved out in Kennesaw, and it takes them an hour to get to work, that they boast about when they go to V's with a stack of business cards that they order every week so they can pass out.
You don't want to give them the ones in them old telephone numbers
Right.
on it. They got 2 out of that apartment.
You see, they feel as though they have separated themselves from the so-called underclass. And like you say, all black people come out of the same mold. We all underclass, all black people are. Even the ones that you think got so-called money. Because once you get laid off from your job, you knocking on my door to say, can I shack up with you for a couple of months?
About playing cards. Clean last week. There was a hieroglyph, which is the Egyptian writing, was housed in all through that papyrus. A huge roll of papyrus in the British Museum, and all through that papyrus, you had this hieroglyph, one symbol for this hieroglyph all through it. And they said it was funny when they were talking about both deities, being the devil and being also God. One thing was clear through that whole papyrus, and you talking about that hieroglyph, it was the hieroglyph for separate. You see, the hieroglyph for separate. Then you would have your Bible and also on, so you know that the same principles apply in your Bible also.
And one other point you must realize too, is you have to...
Okay, addressed to Bobby. Okay, you mentioned the book of Gates.
Yeah.
The first question is where could the book of Gates be gotten in terms of heaven and hell, and where is heaven and hell?
Okay, the Book of Gates, you can get the Book of Gates. It's now called E. Wallace Budge, who gives you the Book of the Dead. Budge, Egyptian Heaven and Hell. And that book is only like $5.95. You can get that book about $6. It's commonly known as the Book of Gates. You can buy that book at Oxford Bookstore, or we can get it at Black Media now, because we got the hookup. At Black Media on Cascade beside the Beautiful. And also you can get that at the Sphinx Metaphysical Bookstore and Avalon Bookstore, up Piedmont. And also now, the heaven and hell concept is two concepts. One is the state of the mental level as far as your mental level. You either in condition of hell or condition of heaven based on what state of consciousness you are in. And what state of physical condition you are in brought on by your consciousness. That's one on the physical form. In the spiritual form, when we talk about these astral planes, and we talk about these higher planes, this Jivashani plane, which is a higher plane, in this spiritual form, we understand one thing. Once you raise a certain level of consciousness, there is no such thing as space as well as earth. It's all one cosmic origin. That's why they say this. Don't look up there, because it's based upon how well or how high you go on the spiritual level. You know.
Also, what are the satanic rituals in the Christian church? No, I just wanted them to point them out.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm just going to put it like this, and then afterwards we can get into them in specifics. Conservatively speaking, 98% of what you do. You see, because what you must understand is tradition and ritual without substance in itself becomes a deterrent to you. You see, spiritually. It's a spiritual dilution to your soul if you're doing something that you don't know the origin of. I take it like this. We don't even have to deal with particularly what goes on. I give you one. Doing some study, and it says that even though some brothers tend to argue with this, that communion is a form of cannibalism. You see, because if you do a lot of parallel studies with Satanism, you see that being very prevalent. You see, but one thing you must look at too is look at all of the holidays you celebrate, which is so-called Christian-based holidays. You're talking about, even when you're talking about holidays like Halloween, Valentine's Day, even when you're talking about Easter and Christmas.
One point, and we want to get to some other questions, is in the ancient world there was no such thing as a fear of God. You can't fear God. God is love. You understand that God is you. How you going to fear yourself? If you the microcosm or the macrocosm. So the fear of God, but we do understand that the prototypical devil set Typhon, when you take that back, he was feared. If you get the book, Ancient Egypt, A Social History, put out by Cambridge, there's a part in there that said that the people, they wanted to subdue their lower nature. Now in the mythology, they say, well, we will put him in the sky, and man shall fear him. Now what does that fear mean? That fear is to go about fearing your lower nature, that you won't slip to the level of the beast, you see. we later on misconstrued that as the fear of God. There's no fear of God. So that is more of the unapproachable fire and brimstone God that has got us tied into this spookism, this we scared about. So that's a sin right there if you want to say for the
Right.
sake of sin.
In actuality, you have more respect for the so-called devil than you do God. Because the only reason you go to church anyway is to prevent yourself from going to hell, not trying to get to heaven.
Because you feel guilty, you partied all night. You say, oh Lord, I got to go and get some spirituality now. It don't work that way.
I was just wondering, back in the beginning, someone had talked about dreams,
Yeah.
about going into the fourth dimension and all that. And I'm just wondering, what happens if you used to have dreams but don't have them anymore?
Well, okay, I want to answer that. I don't want to hog the program, but I'm a little bit into that. The dreams. The dreams, as you heard the brother before he left, Brother Robert, your dreams are nothing but a psychological part of you that is real. Let me explain. You have this astral body, and you could go into another dimension, especially when you're unconscious. That's called the unconsciousness. Now listen, there was a person, let me explain. There was a person, they were going to Hawaii, and they were real interested in going to Hawaii until they were so excited about it until when they went to sleep, they actually astral projected and actually went to Hawaii while they were in their sleep, in their dreams. 2 months later, when they went to Hawaii, the lady said, damn, that's deja vu. Boo, I remember these places. I remember these places. But what happened was she had traveled there in her dreams. See, there's more to the body than what you know. That's why when they tell you, even Richard King tell you to watch your dreams. Because really, this is the illusion, this grand illusion, this whole thing we're going through. Your subconscious is what's really going on. You see what I'm saying? The insanity that we're going on now is a grand illusion. Your subconscious, if you get into the real psyche, you understand the real purpose of the universe. So your dreams are very important.
So,
How do you get it back?
How do you get it back? Well, you used to do this. Well, number one, through diet. They say, number one, you get you some vitamin B, which is neurotransmitters. Number two, you eat bananas because they have the potassium. And also, you try to lay off the dairy products as well as a lot of the vegan. Because a lot of things are happening because of your diet. The reason why I can say that is because about 2 years ago, everybody was talking about these dreams, and I said, I can't remember the last time I had a dream. But once I changed my diet, I started having all these dreams. You see? And some of these dreams is the reason why some of these black people dream of those numbers and hit those numbers. When they play those numbers and hit those numbers, it's just some real stuff. Some of those people could actually go and further ahead and actually see the number coming out on a certain date in their dream. Because there's no difference between time in the realm of spirituality. And then when they would wake up, they would say, I got this number, and they would play this number and win this number. Our people used to do this. There's so much stuff that's going on that we just don't even know about. So mainly through diet.
Situations. We were talking about a situation once where they had a riot over in, I think it was Morris Brown, at a party, and a fight broke out, and several black police and security guards came over and tried to break it up, and you had retaliation.
Yep.
But one white cop busted up in there,
That's right.
and everybody backed up.
That's right. One white man. The black cop was so scared because one of the brothers from Morris Brown ran up and grabbed his gun. And he said, man, these people over here crazy. They would have run through.
Call back.
They came over here and ran Clark's entire football team in the rooms. They was hiding under the bed, and one white cop came. Just the psychological impact of it. One, he got out the car, and the black cops, this was in '88, the black cops were afraid, because these brothers was raising hell. And one white cop came in and started throwing brothers up against the car, and them brothers was like, oh well, oh God. And he rounded up 50 of them Negroes. One white cop. And I said, now look at this.
John Wayne.
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay,
I have a question about an observation I made tonight in the sky.
I was coming out of my survey of visual arts class, and I was looking at the crescent moon and the star Venus right on top of it. I know that in Masonic order and also within the religion of Islam, the crescent and the star placate some deep meanings and symbolisms. But I just want to know that if my observation of this tonight could be like a sign that we're entering some type of new time or atmosphere or different dimension, or could you know?
Well, I just go on the comedic part of that. The comedic part of that is that star, that crescent represents Tahuti, the god of knowledge, is a lunar deity that means the god of knowledge, and who was the messenger of Ra. And you know, and that star could either be Venus, which you see, or Sirius, which is the morning star, the northern star, but it means the messenger of Ra. Now you can take that same translation, and isn't it funny that we have the same thing coming up in the 20th century, where you would have Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the same star and symbol on his head, and he is known as the messenger of Allah. All this stuff is related, and all this stuff is one. So as far as the Hemmitt, which I'm versed in, it was a symbol for Tahuti, which is the god of wisdom.
I think basically touched on it if the brother was asking if we meant the cycle. God had handed that. I don't think he was asking though in depth.
Oh, it's nice.
Of Islam. It is the flag of Islam. We go in so much in depth. I think you did a sufficient job, unless the brother just moves it. That's not sufficient. If it is not just.
Now, as far as the cycles, we know that all this stuff that's going down is for some significance. We understand that Star and Crescent was out about 2 years ago, and everybody in the AU Center saw it and said it's so great, the Star and the Crescent, and also about a month ago. It was the same way. And we understand one thing about this cycle, since we got this in the open. Honorable Elijah Muhammad said there's going to be a time when the weather, as well as the prophecies, when you get the Max Toth, Max Toth, a tooth book, pyramid prophecy, says it's going to be a time in the 90s, or going into the year 2000, where you won't know and we've been noticing this for the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
And we know the cycle in 1990 that started was also a cycle of the goddess Segment, which in Europe is the goddess Oya, which means the god of storms and hurricanes, Hugo, and all of this stuff is going on.
Right. So, well, what I'm saying is, I mean, tell me what to do now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, does this mean that we need to act in a certain way? Or
Yeah.
Well,
we can tell you all night, yeah.
I mean, this thing would be tonight, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's in the sky. Does it mean the UFO is going to come tonight? Or, no.
You better get your bag, son.
The moon in that symbol is feminine.
Yeah.
Okay. The star stands for man, Mason.
Wow.
Okay.
Go ahead, brother.
Two things. As far as that, with all due respect, the Mason's flag have a sword open.
That's true.
And that's what makes the Mason's flag. Star and the Crescent is the flag of Islam that the Masons have, but because they only have 33 degrees of it, they put a sword over. So let's not confuse the two.
Right. I wasn't drawing the flag. I was drawing the symbolism of the moon, crescent moon, and the star.
Right.
Not a
We
flag.
don't want people running out saying, well, the Muslims are Masons because they
They're
wear
not.
the Mason's flag. No, they have our flag. We allowed them to wear, but we put a sword over for a particular reason. But the brother's crescent is a good crescent. You know what we're going to do? The last 4 weeks, our brother has done a good job in bringing about 50, 60 black people out on a consistent basis. We are blessed to be very enlightened with the brothers here. We get a lot of knowledge. However, the determining factor of how enlightened we are will be determined by how many of us leave here and act on what we hear. It's a good thing to come out and hear all this good wisdom, then clap for morning, if we had this every Wednesday, I'm sure all of us will come back on a consistent basis, but how many of us will act on what we hear today? It's easy to hear and clap. The question, brother,
Living up to it.
what should we do today? With all due respect, I think you know exactly what you should do today. And I'm not just saying you. Now make that in reference to a brother in my life. You know what to do. One, prepare, and two, make a change in your life for the better. And we know what must be done. The question is whether we serious enough to stand up and do it. I really think it's an exercise in futility for us today to map out what we need to do. And all of us as intelligent human beings, as black people, know what must be done, but most of us don't want to take the challenge to do what must be done.
That's right.
Well,
I have a couple of questions. Brother Rodney made a point about the sisters in the clubs who participate in their oppression, gyrating in front of cameras or what have you. And I just wanted to make the point that that is no excuse for brothers to condone it or to, because I mean, if you don't back that up. I mean, if you don't say that, then, it's. I'm just talking about as far as accountability goes. Everyone begins to play a role in their oppression. Everyone is oppressed begins to play a role in their oppression. And I just want to talk about the accountability of black men who listen to Miami-based music or who objectify the sisters who wear clothing that is revealing. Another point that I didn't quite understand was you made reference to hats, like brothers wearing hats in buildings, and I'm just wondering what tradition that goes back to, because I don't really understand what's wrong with it, how it's disrespectful. One other.
Good question. Look, let me take them one at a time and not to get on. The first question you brought up about that doesn't justify the action of the brother. I'm not saying that justifies it, but as I said earlier, in our demented state of mind, in our sick state of mind, all of this does is titillate that appetite. That's all I'm saying. That's just like if you are strung out on drugs and I bring you a plate full of cocaine, I'm enticing you. But if I'm a brother that doesn't use drugs, then it doesn't affect me. You see what I'm saying? That's the only point I was making.
Well, let me make a point on that. While we still,
Hold on,
Is the onus on the woman to stop wearing the clothes, or is the onus on the brothers to say
it's on both. It's on both sides.
It's on both, but I want to add something. I want to add something to clarify that. Number one, coming to the women's defense, you must understand something about sexism in the patriarchal society. A lot of the things that go on with women, you can't point a finger, because a woman, you must understand that she lives in a sexist society, and a lot of these things that she does is based on the way the man views her, and she wants to make that projection because she understands that you like that.
That's right.
You understand? Some women will tell you right off, and she said, well, I wouldn't do this, theology too, so I wouldn't direct this thing to the sisters, because when you talk about sexism, that's a deeply ingrained thing, and just like black people are oppressed under racism, sexism is the same thing.
Sexism
Hold on.
is spread in the black community, and what I'm trying to say is that black men oppress black women. It's a fact.
Oh, that's it.
You're right. That's what I said. It's a
given. That's a given, and we took that on from the white man.
So when you know yourself, you can change your identity.
What I'm trying to say is the brothers, the onus is on the brothers to say, this is not what I want of my woman. And I will not oppress black women.
That's exactly what I just said.
That's right.
Brothers and sisters, with this issue, I really believe that if we're going to rectify the problem of black men and black women, we need to stop playing a lot of the games that we play. I think we need to deal with the root of the issue unafraid. Now, the issue of black men disrespecting black women, there is absolutely no justification for that. And in the Nation of Islam, contrary to popular belief, contrary to the belief that our enemy puts out, that most of us eat up as if, thus saith the Lord. In the Nation of Islam, I do not believe there's a nation or organization anywhere in America that respects their women like the brothers in the Nation of Islam, but there's a reason for that. You cannot, in sincerity and in truth, the sisters, and I'm appealing to the sisters who will criticize the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he told the sisters to put clothes on with the demented mindset of the brothers that Brother Rodney spoke to. If you know this black man is so demented, then you are justified, you are responsible to not present yourself as a piece of meat that'll make a dog bite at you. I think responsibility falls on both, and stop playing the games. No, the brothers are not justified in doing it, but neither are the sisters justified in coming and presenting themselves as a piece of meat. If you do so, then you cannot shed too many tears when, if you acting like a piece of meat, you are treated like a piece of meat. If the sisters really, sincerely want to be respected, and you need to imbibe Allah's grace, he rose up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I say to my sister, you should love Elijah Muhammad more than anybody in the world, because the man that you say you want, the man that you say does not exist, Muhammad is making those men. But the sisters in the Nation of Islam get the respect not only because the black man is formed to be self-respecting and respecting other sisters, but the sisters are trained to be respecters of themselves, and contrary or regardless of what one might say, our sisters do not get the respect that you are talking about, brother. So I think both the burden falls on the shoulders of both the black man and the black woman. Don't play with the issue because it's too life-threatening. It's too deep of an issue. Speak the truth. We're going to heal the wounds that keep black men and black women apart. Then we got to speak truth, unafraid to speak it, regardless of whether we placate to somebody's emotion. Regardless of whether the sisters may get offended, regardless of whether the brothers may get offended. Because I find a lot of times when a lot of brothers speak with all due respect, they're not speaking necessarily from what they feel, but they're speaking to get a clap from the sisters. And I would like a clap from the sisters. I would like a clap from the brothers, but I believe because the black man and black woman have been put at odds so much that if we're going to heal this, we must be truthful. No, the brothers cannot disrespect the sisters, but sisters, don't disrespect yourself. If you want to be respected, you got to command respect. And a brother will respect you if you command it. The best example is the sisters in the Nation of Islam. They do not get disrespected. Not only because the brothers know they get killed for disrespecting our women, but also because just the air about them commands the respect of all those who are in their circumference.
And one quick, the second question, I was not trying to make an issue of whether or not, I mean, if you respect, you have yourself in a respectful manner like these brothers with the kufi on, I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about a man that is supposed to be a father to his son, and he comes to a PTA meeting slouching in a chair with a baseball cap on. That's what I'm talking about. And there's no way you can justify or rationalize it. And this is what he's talking about with the male-female situation. Black people try to get so emotional and rationalize to justify ignorance.
I just heard that hat thing came from the pole. I heard that little hat stuff came from the pole. That's what I thought he was asking. Where did the tradition of being respectful, men taking off their hats, where did that come from? And I heard it came from the pole. That's what I thought.
Is that what you were asking?
Well, it was just a point of clarity because it didn't really fall in line with.
Right, I wasn't talking about whether the hat was on or off.
I see.
You're talking about
My last point.
We got to have some other people.
I wanted to ask you about you talked about Brother Bobby. You talked about how you weren't really responsible in a way for what you've done because you said you weren't here. You were talking about the concept of heaven and hell.
Yeah.
And I was kind of curious about that because later on you talked about how you didn't, it was wrong to be complacent and that you needed to, get out of your complacency and to prepare for 2000,
Right.
2000. So
I was trying to expel that myth, the concept of you going to hell because you're born in sin. And how can you be finished before you get going? That's coming from a xenophobic attitude of the European that was afraid of the universe, afraid of himself, afraid of his woman, afraid of people unlike him. So he said, therefore I must be sinning. Now also on the great judgment, what that meant was, if you are out of your mind, how is it you're going to say that people going to judge you as an African when your role in America was not as an African, or let's say judge you as an original man, and your role in America is that of a slave? So in actuality, you're talking about a person that is a patient and a victim. Now the point on the part about the retribution coming to a lot of Uncle Toms, the point is, you get a lot of people that have the advantage to study this stuff, and they still fail to do nothing about it. What they do is, they understand this stuff and they use it for capital gain, or they use it for some type of way. When they go to these balls with white people, they can go, when the white man starts talking about England, they can go, well, oh, I was a pharaoh. You see? But no part of liberation. Some of these people know this. Biblical history tells you that for much whom is given, much is required. So on that part is, there's going to be some retribution. You're going to have some of those black people that know this stuff and chose to turn their backs in there going down with the beast.
All right.
Pick up the elder.
Let's go right here. Let's go right here.
First of all,